Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're just going to be working on some practice questions for the verbal reasoning and quantitative reasoning part of the selective school exam. So what's going to happen is I'm going to go through a bunch of different practice questions with you, and we'll work on how you can approach these questions effectively and what are the skills and strategies that you can use to make sure you get the right answer efficiently. But before we begin, I just wanted to say, make sure you go check out the description box down below for some more details on how you can sign up for my premium selective school exam tutoring classes that will be running in the holidays as well as term 1 and 2 of next year. Basically, we'll be going through a bunch of different content of the topics that you need to know for the selective school exam, as well as some more practice tests and mock exams that can really help you boost your learning and increase your chances of getting into a selective school. This course is based on the new ACER format and has already been running for 2 years with great results, so make sure you go check out the description down below for how you can sign up for a free trial class and register for these lessons. But anyways, let's get back to the video. Okay, so this first set of questions that we have is for verbal reasoning, and I have a few questions that we can work through, and let's get started straight away into these. So this first question, if you have a look at it, this is what we call an analogy question. Now this is basically ask you to figure out the relationship between a set of two words. So for example, the first pair of words is pain and injury. So it's saying pain is to injury as grief is to something. So it's basically telling you to figure out the relationship between pain and injury. When you really think about it, you can turn it into a sort of a sentence. So you can say, an injury brings pain. So therefore, the relationship from here to here, from these two words, so a pain is a result of an injury. So therefore, grief also has to be a result of something. So now we have to think of what that something actually is. So using the options, you can have a look and you can see that the most appropriate option would actually be B, loss. Because if pain is a result of an injury, grief would be a result of a loss. And therefore, the relationship makes sense and B would be the right answer for this. Now, let's go into question number 2. These are a vocabulary word question, so you basically have to figure out which of the following words does not belong with the other 3. Now, out of these 4 words, 3 of these will be similar in a way, obviously. So, the only real way to figure this out is to actually sort of know how you can, sort of know what these words mean. But you can sort of, if you know what a couple of these words mean and they're sort of similar, and the third word is a bit different, you can obviously assume and make an educated guess that the third word would be the right answer to this question. So for example, the word dread and foreboding are both sort of similar because they both mean to sort of be afraid of something that might be happening in the future, something unexpected, something negative happening in the future. Whereas regret talks about feeling bad about something happening in the past. So therefore we know that regret is different to dread and foreboding. So we can assume that regret is the right answer since it might be different to those two words. I forgot to circle this here. But yeah, and even though you don't know what the word apprehension means, if you don't know it, you can assume that since regret is different to the other two, apprehension would be a synonym of foreboding and dread. Now, let's go into the third question. So this one is a bit more, you have to read a bit more, and this is about statements. So assume that some children eat pears, and nobody who eats pears likes oranges, and that all people who like oranges also like broccoli. So the easiest way to solve these sort of questions is to draw a Venn diagram. So let's work on that. So we have some children, so this circle is for children, this circle is for pears. So children, pears. So some children eat pears. Nobody who eats pears likes oranges. So oranges might be here, but it can't be related to pears, this circle. And now the last one, that all people who like oranges also like broccoli. So if it says all people who like oranges. So you can draw a bigger circle around oranges. That's for broccoli. So basically, this is our final diagram. So even though it might seem a bit confusing at first, you have to understand that the easiest way to solve verbal reasoning questions is to actually just do a drawing. So visualize it, it just makes everything so much easier. So if we have this diagram here, now we can go through the options and see which ones works. So no children like broccoli. So in our diagram we drew it like that, but it never explicitly said. So this could be true, so we can't circle this. Some children like broccoli. Again, it could be true, it could not be true, we don't know. So again, we leave that. Now C is some children do not like oranges. Now this has to be true, because if some children like pears, those children who like pears don't like oranges. So therefore, this would be the right answer. And D, all children like both pears and oranges, that is obviously not true. So yeah, this can't be it. So therefore you choose C. So these are like 3 different types of verbal reasoning questions that you can expect. And this is pretty much how you do approach these questions and what you can actually do to solve these. So now let's move on to some quantitative reasoning questions. So these are basically logical reasoning, but in a sort of more numerical way. So this first sort of question that you can encounter, this is basically a pattern question. So this is very simple, because all you have to do is find out the pattern that's occurring between these numbers. Now this first one, this pattern is pretty straightforward. What you can see is that it has a arrangement of numbers, and then the sequence basically is that you double this number, times it by 2, and then whatever you get, you minus 1. So times 2 minus 1, times 2 minus 1. If you try that here, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 minus 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14, 14 minus 1 is 13. 13 times 2 is 26, 26 minus 1 is 25. And to figure out this last one, we do 25 times 2 is 50, 50 minus 1 is B, 49. So now let's work on question number 2. Sam and Kim picked 32 red and white roses, so 23 of the roses were white. So therefore, in our head, we can already sort of figure out that 9 of the roses are red. If 23 of the roses were white, 9 of them will be red, right? So 23 white, 9 red. Now it says 1/4 of Sam's roses were red, and 2/3 of Kim's roses were white. So how many of Sam's roses were white? Now the best way to actually do this is to use trial and error. First thing you can look at is if 1/4 of Sam's roses were red, that means 3/4 will be white, right? If 3/4 will be white, now you can get rid of the options that actually can't be 3/4. B and D both can't actually be 3/4 of anything, so you already eliminated 2 options. Now you have 9 and 15 left. Now the easiest way you can do is simply trial these out. If he had 9 white roses, it means he also had 3 red roses, right? Now what's left over is 6 red roses, 14 white roses, right? If that's what's left over right now. So out of this, 2/3 of Kim's roses were white. So it's 14 out of 20, 2/3. That is not 2/3. So therefore, this has to be the right option, since this one doesn't work. And if we double check that to see if it's valid, it will come out as the right answer. Now the third question, this is a rearranging pattern sort of question. So this one, the best way to do these sort of patterns is just look at one of these and watch the direction it's going. So the pattern of this is it's just moving in a clockwise direction, and then you can have a look at the one next to it. So you can see this is also moving in a clockwise direction. So therefore we know that one of these has to be gray. We also know that the middle one has to be white. So we can get rid of this one and we can get rid of this one. So now if we have a look at the two options left, we can see that the one thing that differentiates them is this black one up here. This circle is either black or white, and we need to figure out which one it will be. So if we look at the ones already in the pattern, we can see there's this black one that goes here, here. So that means this bottom has to be a black, and therefore this top has to be a white. So therefore, if you really pay attention to how these circles are moving, you can see that the answer is C. And that's pretty much how you can solve these sort of questions. But anyways, those were some practice questions to help you on the verbal and quantitative reasoning aspects. And like I said before, if you think you might be interested in some selective school tutoring where I can help you with more of these sort of questions, make sure you check out the description down below for some more details, and I'll see you in the next one.